This is ACOFAE. Laura Marie and Jessica Marie proudly present A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, a podcast. Fair warning, everything the hosts say is explicit, full of spoilers and adult content and shall not be used against them. They have opinions. Let's try not to drag anyone for expressing themselves and just have fun for an hour. We all deserve it.
This episode contains concept and summary spoilers from Faebound with mentions of So This Is War by Megan Quinn, Shadowhunters, Business or Pleasure, and the Wren and the Holly Library. For full list, please see show notes.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, your weekly deep dive into the fantasy, literature, and fandoms that we love. I'm Laura Marie.
And I'm Jessica Marie.
And today we have a very special episode. Today we are thankful. And if you are new to the podcast in the year 2024, then Jessica Marie, can you please explain why we are thankful?
So we started our thankful episodes after our first thankful episode in 2021, where every year we're going to pick out a book that we are, or a couple. There might be a couple on there. We're making our own rules. Books that we are thankful for that are outside of the genre that we typically cover on ACOFAE, and have come out in the year 2024. And I feel like I had such a hard time picking my selections this year until I kind of was going by Laura, because we don't tell each other our selections is the thing. I was like, I'm kind of between this. I'm kind of between that. Laura, I narrow it down. Maybe you pick for me. And she's like, once again, my neurosis is kicking in, and she goes, it's our podcast. It's our episode. Why are we confining ourselves to our rules? We should be able to have flexibility. And that we are doing today for both of us. So I'm going to share two books, but I don't know if I'm going to share the book that I'm thankful for that I didn't like, because I don't want the author that I'm going to be praising to feel like, oh my gosh, I don't want her to think that I put this one author down to praise me. So that's how I'm going to be approaching it. But I will say the genre, I will say the niche, the subgenre and everything in between. And I feel like if you are a contemporary romance person, specifically a hockey contemporary romance person, you might pick out some of the things or who the author is, because it was also, I'll start off with the book that I didn't like. It was a hockey romance. It came out in July 2024, and this was the second book of this author that I had read. So maybe it's just the author itself, but it was a hockey romance. I thought it was awful. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. And I remember, Laura, I don't send you a lot of voice memos when it comes to contemporary romance because I know that's not your genre. But I remember voice memoing you about how irritated I was with this one book. And it was because it was also, we got the brother's best friend trope. They were childhood friends. He was a professional hockey player that left and came back. On paper, I thought I was going to want it all. And it didn't. And it made me, but I'm thankful for it because I was like, what is it about contemporary romances that I use as my buffer between romantasy and fantasy books? And it was, I realized I didn't love the instant love, but I'm still in my hyper independent era where there was a case of domestic abuse happening or about to happen. And instead of the person fighting for herself, this is also coming off a couple of fantasy books back to back, she didn't fight for herself. And it reminded me, and then the hockey player came in, he wasn't the abuser, it was a family member or something. And he came and saved the day or whatever. And she didn't even try. And I understand that there's a fight or flight mode. Everybody's reactions are going to be different. But she was even thinking, he's going to come save me. He's going to come in any minute. And it reminded me of how in the Wren and the Holly library, she fought and he thought he was going to save her. And he's like, oh, you did it for me. And that's really, really hot. So then I was breaking down about like, well, what is it that about contemporary romances that I always kind of fall back into comfort? And again, it's kind of the juxtaposition of hyper independent. You're used to doing everything all the time. You're going to handle it yourself. You know that you're the person you can rely on. But in contemporary romances, you kind of get to let it all go and somebody else can take care of it for you. So then I went to my go-to. She's become my favorite contemporary romance writer, Megan Quinn. She released a 5th book of her hockey series, The Vancouver Agitators. He's like my favorite one that I've been waiting for all of her books. Her book that came out also in June 2024. So This Is War. And I loved it. It had all the tropes. It's super, of course, it's a contemporary romance. And I feel like we wouldn't cover it on the podcast because it doesn't, it's not YA, it's not fantasy, it's not usually the genre that we hit, but it has the things that we love in our fantasy and romantasy journeys. So aside from the FMC being a curvy redhead with light eyes and big boobs, no, like self-insert immediately, it's kind of millennial coded. They reference like Mavis Beacon. There was a reference to the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where like he's just walking through. So how sometimes we talk about when a book feels like it could be dated. So they talk about socials, but they don't talk about necessarily which social platforms. But I love that there's like no mean girls. Like all of the girls, because this is the 5th book in the series, every single time that there's a new girlfriend or wife that comes into play, they're immediately embraced. The men talk about their feelings. If there's an issue, there's a lot of communication involved. Sex positive, sex work positive, it's kink positive. It's like all of the things. And then I like that in this book, once they realize what the issue is, it reminded me of when we discussed in Business or Pleasure, once you find out the problem and they communicated, the issue was the problem and not each other. And I feel like a lot of her books, not a lot of her books, but this book particularly hit those marks that we love in a book together.
That is so interesting. You went on quite the journey.
I know. It took me to like hating a book to be like, well, let me go to something that I love, because I do love the hockey romance genre. But there are some out there that I read that turn me off from the genre for a really long time. The one person who really consistently like gets me out of my book slump or like, is like Megan Quinn. Like, and she has like all these different universes. So when we have like Cassie Clare, how she has like, you have the Infernal Devices and the Last Hours, and you have also cameos from other characters. That's what Megan Quinn is doing, because she has like a billionaire romance series, and she has like another sports romance series, and I think she has some others, like a small town one. And so there will be little Easter eggs or cameos and mentions of like how things are interconnected, and it's always fun if you're reading them in chronological order. But all of her books can be read, so far from what I've read, like standalone interconnected.
So it's a rich universe on top of it being your go-to.
Yeah, I guess it's fun because, it's like bitches love Easter eggs. I am bitches. It's fun. It's fun. If y'all like contemporary romance and like Megan Quinn, please feel free to reach out, because I don't talk to anybody about these. I feel so lonely. I know there's so many book clubs, but like I also don't want the responsibility of thinning myself out in my time where I'm not going to feel like I can get anything accomplished. And I think that happens to a lot of people, where you're like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And now you have all the balls up in the air and no time to do anything and feel like complete in accomplishing those things. But yeah.
What is it about hockey romance?
I don't, considering we never had hockey leagues in high school, at our school at least, I don't know. Because I've tried other sports. I hated the football ones, which is funny because I've always dated the athlete, the football athlete, the basketball player, the baseball player. I read one baseball one that I actually really enjoyed. But I think it's because I love hockey as a sport. I love watching it. I like it live. I like it more on television or streaming, however you're watching, because you can actually follow the puck. You can follow the game better, in my opinion. Maybe it's also like the aggression. I don't know. I love a good fight, but I'll also be like yelling. I'm like, be nice when I'm at a game. I haven't gotten that far as to why I like a hockey romance. It's also because of the writer. Because Megan Quinn also wrote a baseball sports romance, and I really enjoyed that one. Yeah, I don't have a reason. And you know, it's funny because, like I said, the FMC was like a curvy redhead, with big boobs, light eyes, all this stuff. In the hockey romance community, I guess I'll use in loose quotes, who also read fantasy, some of the discussions are, well, typically if you look at the significant others of these hockey players, they're almost always blonde. So any color outside of blonde, this automatically makes it a fantasy. So there we go.
Okay, well, there's your thread.
Yeah, there's my thread.
There's your thread. Oh, this is so interesting. Okay, so I would say that you're thankful for okay, this is just me like hyper imposing meaning on what you're telling me.
Please tell me, because I have no idea.
But it seems like you are incredibly thankful for being able to refine your taste. And like, you know exactly now what does and does not work for you. Yeah. And like how, like, cause you really like this author. You like this series. You like what's going on here.
Like even her, I'll say quote unquote, like I don't want to say bad stuff, but the other stuff that I don't lean towards, like I'm not a small town romance, you know, especially we grew up in small towns. It's not it, but I'll go through her back catalog and I'm like, there was one book that took me like 3 months because I would read like a page a night before I went to bed. But then I'm still picking up the next one. I still want to know. And her books are fun, especially if you do audio, at least with so far the hockey romance and like the billionaire romance ones. I have had so much fun with the audio, and she has like dual POVs. Sometimes she has multiple cast members because all of the universes are interconnected. She'll bring back an audio narrator who voiced the person in book 2 when they have the cameo in book 5. It's just really, it feels very fleshed out. I'm not going to say there's like a lot of thought into it, but it's like, it's a romance. You know what's going to happen. You're just kind of there for the fun journey of it all.
That's awesome.
I would 100%, if these were like miniseries, like if each book had a miniseries on Netflix or something, 100% I would be sat down watching it play out.
Or like Hallmark or some sort of, right? Like,
yeah, I guess. But I also love I used to love a holiday Hallmark movie growing up too. Like Lindsay Lohan is in a couple for Netflix. Sign me up. I'm ready to sit down off Thanksgiving and watching them.
The Vanessa Hudgens ones that are on there,
those ones are so good too. And then the lookalike. Those are so good.
They're so good. They're so good. Oh, what a wonderful thing to be thankful for. And also, I would say I'm thankful for you not having asked me to read that because
I never would. I'd never be like, I need you to know. I would never do that to you.
Like, I'm very happy to read romances, but I think I might draw the line at sports romances. I don't know. I just feel like that's a little too niche for me. I don't know. Like, however, how fucking fun. How fun.
Yeah. And like the depth of it. I was like, this is a me thing. What is it about this one romance that I didn't like? And that's where I was like, where is the line? So learning that was nice. Now I'm going to go back to being super hyper independent and be like, this is never going to happen.
But also too, it's like, I am assuming that romance books offer a different type of comfort than like fantasy books or any other type, or like sci-fi or any other type of book. So it is nice then to find not only a genre, but a specific like niche genre that you like with an author that you like that is, consistently pumping out things that are available.
Yeah. And she has like this new Christmas one coming out. I should have pulled it up, but I don't have it. Where she was doing a meet and greet in New York in December. I'm like, oh, that would be so cool. And I bought tickets and everything. I was like, oh, I could have her like sign my favorite one or something in addition to this Christmas book. And now I think I have to work. So I'm like really bummed about it. And if people are like, oh, just skip. No, you don't understand. Like, I pitched this thing. I have to show up. I even tried moving it to a different day. I tried moving it to like 2:30 in the afternoon. And somebody else is like, 6 o'clock, 6:30 works great. And I'm like, no. So I'm working that night, unfortunately.
Oh, boo. Well,
but there will be others. She was going to do it to her.
Yeah.
This just wasn't meant to be. But I'm excited about yours because you loosely, again, we don't share our titles, but you loosely shared with me how you might approach this Thankful episode this year. And then then you never have to talk about romance for the rest of the episode again.
No, I'm always excited to hear what you have to say in all things about everything. You know that. So, okay. My situation is this. So I went into this, so fucking confident. I was so confident. I was like, yeah, no, I got this. This is no problem. I have this, my book picked out. It's going to be fantastic. It follows the rules. Like everything is wonderful. And to get there, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you the whole story before I even tell you what I'm thankful for. So the book that I was going to present to you, Jessica Marie and ACOFAE listeners, is The Book That Broke the World by Mark Lawrence. It came out in April 9th, 2024. That is the second book in the library trilogy, the first book being The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence, which came out in 2023. Okay?
What genre is that?
This is like fiction.
Okay.
So I was going to read the first book, The Book That Wouldn't Burn, that came out in 2023. And then I was going to present to you the second book, The Book That Broke the World, that came out in April of 2024. Okay. That was my plan. However, I did not understand The Book That Wouldn't Burn. I did not. Okay. I have been thinking about it still to this day. And there is just, I can't picture the world. I can't make the connections. I can't parse the timeline. I can't do it. I cannot present it to you in any sort of like logical conclusion because the book made me feel such a way that I have not picked up the second book. The second book feels now just like this burden to bear, this like slog, because I can't even tell you like how that story ended. I can just tell you like broad strokes about The Book That Wouldn't Burn. So to even pick up the second book was just like too much. So I was like, what do I do? What am I going to do? I could
I can't believe maybe that's to say like, it's been a rough year for us reading though too, because we're like, we just kept finding ourselves like, we got out of our book slump. We're back into our book slump. We just got out. No, that was just for a hot second. So maybe that's just kind of the theme.
So you're really right. So what I am thankful for, of course, is and now I will be not following the rules. What I am thankful for is our ACOFAE listeners. Listeners, I am thankful for you. You might not know this, but I read the messages that you send me. Of course I do. I respond to them. Of course I do, because there's only a few people that message me, and I love the three of you. And here's the thing. sometimes y'all give me book recommendations. I go through those bitches. Don't you ever worry about that. And I went through and I read 2 books that were pitched to me from our listeners that went through my Insta DMs. Thank you so much for this. And I'm going to tell you about these 2 books, one that we would cover for the podcast and one that we would not. And I'm going to tell you why. And all of this under the umbrella of thankfulness for my listeners, because my original idea crashed and burned because I was just too dumb to figure out that fucking book.
No, don't talk down about yourself. No.
I couldn't do it. My headspace was not right. Like, I don't know what was going on with me, but I could not do it. Okay. I'm thankful for our listeners. Our listeners are fantastic. They give us recommendations, such as A Natural Histories of Dragons, the memoirs of Lady Trent, book 1 in that series by Marie Brennan. This book, we would not cover on the podcast.
Oh, because we would not. Dragons, and I'm like, this is the book.
we would not. Imagine, and I'm going to tell you why. Imagine that imagine in DMATMOOBIL, when Hermione is traipsing through the forest looking for specimens, imagine if it was just her and her like internal thoughts and writing down in a notebook. Okay. And just like not too much happening. Okay. There's like, and there's travel, but a lot of it is like academic type notes and about, in this case, dragons. So it's the main character and she grows up in kind of like a stifled English type society. And she has to get her husband that fosters her love of science and dragons. And they go off into the field together and have an adventure, and where he eventually passes away and she becomes a famous explorer. It's very lovely. And there's mysteries abound and like small towns and wilderness and like lots of plots going on. But it's just more academic leaning than we would do it. Cause she's very like, did you ever watch Bones?
No. I know I know how much you love Bones.
I love Bones. It's very Bones. It's very academic. It's very straightforward. It's very like facts. The love is very like, we were in love. Moving on. There isn't a lot of like, there's no sisterhood. There's no like, coming together in this first book. To like, it's just her. It's very much a fantastic book, just not applicable to what we talk about here on the podcast. But it was a great read, and I think about it a lot. It's in the same vein as the Starling books that I like so much that I read on Kindle Unlimited. It's just like a very delightful, or like Belladonna. It's just like a very delightful book that isn't necessarily something that we would cover here, but I'm very grateful that I read. And I would recommend to a certain type of person if they were looking to get into fantasy, but like not like fantasy, you know what I mean? Like we're not in elves here. It's just animals.
I was going to ask what the genre was, which you cleared up. It is a fantasy genre, but it almost seems like fantasy realism, because of that scientific approach, which kind of reminds me of the Encyclopedia of Fairies.
Yes. I would say I haven't read the Encyclopedia of Fairies, but I would say it does sound very similar to that, being that it is like a story, but it is very much just like, scientific method. We're writing down observations. We're classifying species. Like, we're doing the work. Very reminiscent to me kind of Babel, where if you have the physical text or you listen to it through audio, there is just like pages and pages of footnotes that are very important to the story that are read for you, kind of in an academic setting, explaining all of the language. It's interesting. It was wonderful. So thank you so much to the listener that put that on my radar. And you were correct. The audio experience was lovely, and I was able to do that through my local library. So shout out to all the things. Like, it was really fantastic.
Oh, that's so good. Do you have a takeaway that you liked most from the book?
I liked that it surprised me, first of all, because I didn't know what I was going into. I went in blind because I needed something. And it surprised me because I very much like Bones. I like the scientific kind of approach to things. And I like that it was, set in the past. There was very unique kind of languages and world building, and the dragons were all very different. And there's kings, and it's very fun. And it's very interesting and also very proper. I would say, again, kind of in the vein of, the Paper Magician and that series. I cannot think of what it is off the top of my head, but if you Google that, it'll come up. That series where it's very, very sweet and very proper and wrapped up. Very good. Very good. I do have one more.
I'm excited because if that is the book that we weren't covering, this is the one we would?
Yeah, this is the book that we would cover.
And so it would be in our genre and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it would be in our genre. And it does very much fit the rules, except we would cover it. So, I mean, I did between all three. I think I hit all of our rules.
You're like, here's a genre we would. Here's the genre that's outside of the genre. Here's why we wouldn't cover. Here's when we would. But why aren't we covering?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So this book was also, I'm very grateful, very thankful. Listener recommended. Thank you for this. This book came out this year, the year 2024. This came out January 23rd, 2024. This book is, of course, Faebound by Sarah L. Arifi. We would cover this. I want to be so clear on this. We would cover this. This book is fire. There's a second book that is out pre-order that comes out in February. It is called Cursebound. That one is also going to be fire. This book is so good. I was preoccupied with another book while I was reading this, so I started reading it again just so I could really, really grasp the beginning because I can remember the end. And I was just like, wow, this is a unique idea. I mean, I'll just talk about it. It is a world where there are fae, elves, and humans, but the fae and the humans have died out, and there are only fae left, and they are locked in an eternal war to because they're divided up into clans, and they're locked in an eternal war over this cache of magical iron deposits. And once they have that, they can harness the magic to create a better world, all that stuff. And then through banishment, our main character discovers that in this first book, that the fae are alive. They have been cursed to live underground for 1,000 years because of a prophecy. So the fae, so the elves above are fighting each other, have no idea that the fae are underneath.
This is feeling very District 13.
Yeah. Have no idea that the fae are underneath, cursed to stay underground until the prophecy is fulfilled. The prophecy being that humans, fae, and elves have to live in harmony. Except there's no fucking humans left in this book. There's no humans left. So what are they gonna do? And there's
no harmony because the elves are fighting.
Because the elves are fighting. I mean, there's prophecies. And then, so our main character and her sister and this other guy are banished, and they end up with the fae, and they learn that their way of doing magic every time they do it, kills a fae underground. Okay? It's wild shit. So every time the elves do harness this thing for magic, when they do that and they kill it, it kills the fae that it is bonded to underground.
So they're bonded to phase 2 and they don't know about the bond?
Sort of. So imagine there are magical deer walking around, and you use magic by skinning the deer, using its skin and making a drum. And that drum, the skin creates magic. But the deer that you killed is magical soul linked to a fae underground, and the fae are dying. And the fae don't understand why you up there keep murdering them while they are cursed underground.
But they don't know that they're killing the fae.
Yeah, they have no idea up there that they are murdering the fae under the ground.
They don't even know that the fae exist.
They exist. So our main character, her sister, and this other guy go to the fae. And she's got her drum with the skin, right? And she ends up killing one of these magical creatures that was soul linked to their prince. So their prince is dead. The monarchy is in question. Succession is all up in. They're like, you killed our prince. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And it's politics.
And it's politics. And it's politics. And it's a lot of like military stuff too. She's a colonel. And then, it's a lot of like her harnessing, like trying to learn how to use fae magic and like harness and without using the skin because like that's messed up.
Oh, because the skin. Oh, because you're trying to get like that's the way to get the one power. And now you're trying to harness the power without killing more fae.
Yeah.
Oh.
So then one of the creatures that only ever bond to a fae ends up bonding to our main character, who is an elf, of course.
Of course.
And then the guy that they've been traveling with is a secret prince in disguise.
Of course he is.
Of course he is. It's so good. It's such good shit. It's such good shit. And then the sister is a seer, and she has to go through her own journey because the way that she would do magic is she would dig through the entrails of these dead magical creatures and she can't do that now. So she has to learn her own sort of personal magic that doesn't use the entrails of these magical animals. Yeah, it's really good shit.
That's so fucking fun. What was the name of this book?
It's called Faebound.
Oh, Faebound.
Because she
is bound. Yeah, Faebound.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the next book is called Cursebound because the fae are all cursed. And they want to get out of the underground because how can they fulfill their prophecy if they're trapped underground? It's really, really good.
Thank you, listener, for recommending it.
Yeah, thank you, listener, for recommending it. So that was the book that we absolutely 100% would cover. So and there, of course, there's more coming. So I just thought it was such a good kind of like representation too of the things that we like really look for, the things that we enjoy, and the things that we enjoy and wouldn't cover. It's a good like kind of spectrum of everything, and kind of hits all of our tastes. Because we have like the hockey romance, and then we have like these 3 books because I couldn't get my shit together.
No, it's been a year. It's been a reading year for us. I'm telling you, we've been struggling over here.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Let me circle back just a little bit. When I was so sure that I was going to cover the library trilogy, starting with the book that wouldn't burn and moving on to the second book, I was so sure. Because I was like 20-30% into that book, and I was like, this is fire. I'm going to figure this out. This is going to be great. And at the end of it, I couldn't. All right. I would just basically tell you what that is about so you can kind of understand what I'm talking about. There is a library, and okay. Do you remember in The Magicians, the library?
Yes.
And how it's like separate. It's like in its own time and space, and it has its own politics and its own internal workings. Okay. Picture that, but that, has entrances. So that library has entrances in different realms, in different times. Okay. So we have two main characters that live in the library. One of them actually lives in the basement of the library, but it's like a forest.
Okay.
Okay. The other one lives in like a kingdom, and she comes in there and she works there and she leaves, and that's the normal storyline. That's her, like, it's her way of working her way into an apprentice into the library. And then she starts to learn a little bit too much, and she starts exploring the library, and then she starts going through all of these doors, and then she runs into this boy. And then the boy is one age. This is like an Interstellar thing. The boy is one age, and then every time the girl sees him again, she's a little bit older.
This really is like the Magicians. Where the timelines are all...
Because the timelines are weird. And so, like, things that happen, like, instantly for him are happening over, like, decades for her. Also very time traveler's wife. Mm-hmm. So she's like, I need to help my friend, but, like, every time I go looking for him, I'll never find him. I can't... The library wants me to not look for him, and then it'll take me there. And, like... And then there's all sorts of, like... mechanical, like, things in the library, and it's, you know, it's like absolutely huge, and multiple stories with locked doors. There's no maps. You can't map it. It was crazy. And I just couldn't parse the way that the storylines overlapped and how all of the characters were, like, really interconnected with each other, and where the story was going to go from here. I just couldn't figure it out, because the like big part of it is that there's a fire in the library, and it's burning the like basement part where all of these characters live, and they're trying to get out and they can't, because their ancestors, like, trapped them in it's like, I just couldn't figure it out, because there's these two, like, opposing forces that are trying to take over the library. It's like monsters and then, like, automatons that guard these people. It is just, there's so much going on, and I was so fucking confused that even though I was taking notes, I was going back and I was just like, I just don't understand what I'm talking about, and two, what the fuck is going on.
Because if you don't know what's going on, how are you going to talk about it?
I mean, I could probably bullshit it, but, like, yeah, goddamn.
But also, like, there are books where when you're in the moment and you're like, okay, I think I follow what's going on. And then you finish it and you're like, wait, I lost the entire plot of what I just read. I knew it when I was in it, and then it's over.
Yeah, and then it... Because that's the other thing, too, is that I didn't like how it made me feel. And this is going back to, like, how the hockey romances, like, they make you feel a certain way. Like, they're formulaic and cozy, and, like, you like...
Cozy. Maybe that's what it is. It's a good, cozy read.
Yeah, and, like, you like that. Like, I didn't like how this made me feel. It made me feel like I just couldn't, like, braid all of the strings together, and it was just infuriating. And every time I tried, it would just be like blah. And that is not why I am reading. And part of me doesn't like that I say that, because part of me is like, no, stick it out, just get smarter, just figure it out. But another part of me is like, I don't really like this, and I don't want to put my effort into understanding something that I don't really like. But also, shouldn't I do that? Isn't that growth? Also to say, sometimes you just want to read what makes you feel good and what you like. And following all of those gut feelings and of course, recommendations of our fantastic listeners, I was able to find, like, Faebound, which is great, you know? And I remember seeing it, and it just got, like, lost in, like, the recommendations on, like, Audible and the library and, like, all of these things. It just went by me. I don't know. But again, that going back to being grateful, I am grateful that books like this exist that make me feel better and inspire me and give me the sisterhood, give me the complicated storylines, the diversity, and the wanting to do better, wanting to be more, like all of that kind of stuff that drives you to inspiration instead of sitting with something that you just aren't getting. It's like sitting at the table with your dad doing math homework. Like
the trauma. You're like, not only like, not that it's fun, I can't even process it and get to a point where, you know, when you're learning, to go back to that same example, and when it finally clicks, and when it clicks, that's when it becomes enjoyable. Mm-hmm. But that just wasn't happening. What was the genre of the library trilogy?
I swear it's just fiction. Here, I asked
because I was going to say, like, what made you explore going outside of your typical genres that you tend to approach?
It just sounded interesting. Okay, so the tags are action, adventure, epic, fiction, heartfelt, royalty, suspenseful. So like it's like, I would say very adjacent to fantasy. If it isn't, I'm sure some people would classify this as fantasy. I don't know. It just, sometimes a book just kind of like grabs me and I am interested. Right now I'm looking at the Book of Doors and that cover looks interesting. I have no idea what that is.
I get that way with fiction, like especially with, when when there's coworkers who are suggesting like it's totally outside of the genres that I typically read, but when they throw a recommendation at me, I'm like, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I stepped out of, because again, it goes to what you're saying, is like challenging, growth, exploration, like all of the in between.
And also, I don't know if I have shared this with you or our listeners, but my Amazon account was deleted, and that includes my Audible account. So it's gone. It's gone. It's gone. Why? Because this is so very interesting. Because everything somehow was connected to my Amazon DE account, which then did not allow me to access Amazon Prime Video in any app outside of my TV. So, because it said not available in country, it was linked to DE, and I called, I did everything. There was nothing we could do. It just said, it's just screwed up. It's just screwed up. Just close everything. So I closed everything, which is, if you ever try to close your Amazon account, it's not difficult, but it is like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? And by the fifth one, you're like, no. So all of this to say that my extensive Audible book collection is wiped out.
No.
Yes.
Because aren't you supposed to like, because I thought that was part of the thing with Audible, is even if you got rid of Audible, you still own the audio versions.
You need physical media.
No, you want to start from scratch all over again?
From scratch all over again. Books are expensive, yo. So
oh my God.
Yeah, so I am slowly building back up my library. All of this to say that I am, again, finding now a lot of books that were like by the wayside, because it's like, do I need this? I have like a physical copy of this. Do I need the audio? A lot of the times it's yes, but sometimes it's no. And then when it's no, it's like, okay, what's something new? What's something else that I could try, that I could really enjoy? Maybe I can find it in the library first. I can see the recommendation on Audible, find it in the library first, and then see if I really want it, and then what I can do. So, and
it's a timely thing. I feel like if you're not in a rush to rebuild that collection, you start adding things into your wish list, so you get the alert that you're one of the anthologies of a Shadowhunters books are all of a sudden available for $1.99 on a Friday. So you kind of learn how to be more savvy, because you're prioritizing. Yep. Oh my God. I know the way my mind just went to somewhere else that I know we can't say here, but
what I really the thing that bothers me the most is I lost my Melissa McPhail Pattern of Shadow and Light books. Yeah. I love those. So those are my priority to get back, just because
I can't believe they couldn't even, like, especially because you're like,
just unlink it. It's different. Like, it's different fucking countries. Like,
it's unlink it, or like give me like the code to like make up for, you know what I mean? Because we've been fortunate enough to have authors share their Audible codes with us for like an ARC or, you know, an AL, advanced listeners copy for their audio versions. So like, I think that's where we get frustrated just in life, when you know something is possible because we've seen it implemented one way. So why not provide the customer service in that regard? They already have your money, but you're also like, however many credits or codes isn't going to hurt you either.
Exactly. All of this to say, since my Audible library has been wiped clean, if you have recommendations, drop those bitches in my DMs, because I am rebuilding. And while I'm rebuilding, I have so much room for new things. And new things are wonderful because, you know what's great? Distraction and dissociating.
Don't we fucking need that?
And I think now is a good time to start that and build up a collection of things to get us through the next, years. Because,
it's not 4 years.
So those are my books, Jess.
I'm devastated for you. I can't believe I didn't know.
Oh, I just, it's one of those things. But I'm just going to gush for a second. I am so grateful and thankful. We are thankful. I am thankful for so much, obviously, but I'm thankful for editor Sam for editing us. I am thankful for our listeners for listening. Truly, y'all are the best, honestly. And Jessica Marie, of course, I am thankful for you. Number one, you right here, you. You listen to me. You let me go on and on. You humor me, and actually,
you act like I humor you. I'm thrilled every time you're like, thank you. Like, I think we did it for, when is this episode coming out? Our Love Hypothesis episode. You're like, thanks for listening. I was like, are you serious? Like, I get to be excited with you. This is the best part of my week. Every week was when we get to gush and talk about these things together.
Well, I'm also very thankful that you take my recommendations a little more seriously than I think other people do, because they pay off. I'm just thinking very specifically of your reluctance about Donnie Darko and how and how, like, when you actually got there, you're like, damn, this is really something.
This is so fucking cool. I've been like, I have no reason to be in LA for Easter, but I'll find a reason.
Find a way. Like, I'm very thankful for that, because it is easy to be ignored. And it is easy to do I'll put it on the list. And then just like, and have it do nothing. It's very easy to say you'll read the book and then to give it back to you and be like, I just didn't get to it. It's very easy to do those things. And you humor me and you don't do those things, and you listen and you take the time. And I think that is a testament to you and your, I don't want to say growth, but your just like approach to things and your openness and willingness to engage, even though sometimes I have to be a little bit insistent, but we get there. We get there in the end. And that, I think, is something that is very special and not something that a lot of people do. I think a lot of people are very comfortable in their bubble. And why be in your bubble when there is so much to explore? So much.
Mirroring the same sentiment. I'm always thankful for you. I think it took me a long time to get there, in our decades long friendship. But once I was like, I just got to learn to follow Laura, because Laura has yet to steer me wrong. And it's been the best journey. And it's still just the beginning too. I'm so excited. I'm glad that you say like, I'm humoring you. You just let me go on 20 minutes about a hockey romance that I hated and I loved. And, but like, you also, the patience that you have with me and my growth, is unrelenting. You're just always there, and I so appreciate you. And of course, I appreciate editor Sam. Like, we wouldn't have this and at the quality we have if we didn't have an editor and a producer and, you know, our mascot, our ACOFAE mascot. I thank you. I'm always so grateful for everybody and for whoever listens to us. It could still be like 3 people and we're like, hey, what's up? Thanks for being our friends. Yeah, we're just always thankful. And we're going into like 5 years now, which is also fucking crazy that we started in 2020. So here we are. And I have a million questions that I have to ask you off, like, when we end this, because we're still just getting started. 2025 episodes are quickly being discussed and fulfilled. And thanks for everything, y'all. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye.